Welcome to another episode of Mythic Drafting, where today we'll be doing another draft of March of the Machine. Starting off with our first pack, and wow, a sweet one here with Elesh Norn. Haven't had the chance to play with Elesh Norn really that much in this set. The only time I've drafted it was in my second draft of day 2 of an Arena Open in an absolute train wreck draft. So didn't really get the opportunity to enjoy this one, but one of the most powerful mythics in the set, and certainly what we'll be taking. So it's a Vigilance 3/5 for 4. Whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you or a permanent control, they lose 2 life unless they pay 1. Then you can flip it for the most absurd saga of all time. You basically get 5 2/2s and transform all other incubate tokens. Then you give +1/+1 and double strike to all creatures you control. And then it wraths everything except Phyrexians, lands, and artifacts. And then you get Elesh Norn back and you can do it all over again. You have to sack 3 creatures to do that, but it's a very powerful effect. We'll be certainly looking to draft around Elesh Norn here. I think other first picks in this pack, Talia is fine, but really not much that I've been that excited to take here. It's maybe Knight of the New Coalition, to be honest, or Talia probably, but Elesh Norn certainly the pick here. Really happy to pick that one up. Not really going to take Obosh the Prey Piercer and go for the companion deck when I've already taken an Elesh Norn. There's Angelic Intervention, which I like a little bit. I like quite a bit, sorry, in white, especially when you got a card like Elesh Norn. But I think here, ironically, we'll take Elspeth's Smite, the card that killed Elesh Norn. Even though this card can't kill Elesh Norn in the set, it's 1 mana for deals 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. And then if it would die that turn, it gets exiled instead. Other cards I like Invasion of Xerix, but that's coming into another colour. Also like Ikadrinka, Nezumi Informant quite a bit, but here I think we just want to stay on white and maximise the chances that we get to put Elesh Norn into our deck. I think the best place for Elesh Norn is probably in like a black-white deck or a blue-white deck. Probably blue-white because it's just one of the best decks in the format. But you want to have lots of bodies, so if you can get, Knights of the New Coalitions, Preening Champions, those types of cards that make multiple bodies, they really maximise the power of Elesh Norn. So now we have an interesting pick here. The cards that have been taken, I think, is the flip card and the rare. Not a ton of signals. There's a Phyrexian Censor, which I think I like quite a bit early, like when we're earlier in the draft. Come down the card a little bit, but if we can be a deck that prioritizes Phyrexians, we can take advantage of it a lot more than and make it really mess with the opponent's game plan. And really, there's not that much else for us. I mean, there's an Assimilate Essence in blue, there's a Render Inert and a Furnace Rains, but none of those cards like really go well and make me want to jump off the white. So I think, and Scroll Shift is not a card that I'm like looking to take early at all or even play. So I think we just take Phyrexian Censor here. I'm not like wedded to it, but if we can draft like a Phyrexian deck with an Elesh Norn and a Phyrexian Censor and put pressure on the opponent, I think that's pretty sweet. And wow, here we go with a 4th pick, Marshal of Zhalfir, one of the best uncommons in the set, and a slam dunk pick for us really. Like, even though I've got the Censor here, Marshal is just a way better card. And Blue-White Knights, as we were just saying, is one of the better places to play Elesh Norn. This card's just absurd. Happy to speculate here on it. Some really strong cards in this pack. There's a Vat Keeper, Herbology Instructor. I like the dual land. Rails Reinforcements is good in a Convoke deck or a Black-Red Sacrifice deck. And if we were going to Black-White, I don't mind Attentive Skywarden to flip Incubate tokens, but I mean, here Marshal of Zhalfir is a 2-drop. It pumps all your Knights. It's also a tapper. It's just a fantastic card. So now we got an interesting pick here. No blue card. Blue common missing as well, which is important. So that means we're probably taking a white or a black card. There's Sculpted Perfection, which is really good in the Phyrexians deck. Final Flourish is just really good in general. But then if we want to take like a Knight, we could take Kithkin Billy Rider, or we could take the Flexible Point with Defector. But both of those cards are weaker enough and replaceable that I think it's worth taking the black card for the upside. I think even though Sculpted Perfection is good in white-black, I think Final Flourish is still actually just better. And like this card is a 3/3 and it pumps a lot of your team, but it's not even a Phyrexian card itself for Censor. And I think it's worth there just taking Final Flourish. And yeah. So now, I mean, blue commons are all missing here. And a Merciless Repurposing pick 6. Along with a Etherblade Agent, cut short. I think it's more powerful enough, and after seeing Final Flourish, it's enough of a signal that I'm happy to move in on black here. If black's this open to go along with our white cards, we can move into this black-white Phyrexian deck and take advantage of Phyrexian Censor here. It's now an interesting pick here. Like, we're still obviously open to blue-white Knights. There's a Dreg Recycler, which is a bit in the black-white Phyrexian. I mean, I don't mind it in black-white Phyrexian decks, but I wonder if I'm meant to take Sigil Sentinel here as like a hedge card between... Like, it's fine in black-white Phyrexians, although not really that good. I think potentially we're just meant to take the Dreg Recycler here as a Phyrexian. It can also drain. It's going to get pumped if we get anything that pumps up Phyrexians, but... Yeah, I think it's the pick after seeing those two really late black cards there. And now we get a pack with absolutely nothing for us. So we're going to go ahead and pick up a... I don't love Flywheel Racer in either decks. I think it's actually better to just take the Cyber Cryptomancer here in case we do end up in blue-white. And now our pack wheeled. And again, I don't love Mirrored and Avenged. I'm just going to go ahead and hedge here. Like, it might look awkward that, you know, we've got 3 white cards, 3 black cards, and effectively 3 blue cards here, but like, I'm not playing any of these other cards, and so we're staying open at this point to what we want to do. And now, okay, so Nezumi Freewheeler came back. There's also a Scoured Barons. I think we just take the Freewheeler here. This is where I'm sort of like, I don't want to be in a 3-color deck, so I don't want to take the land. And Freewheeler is a good Phyrexian on the backside and just a decent 4-drop. It does what you want to do. And now I can take Ica Shade here, which works with our Dreg Recycler. If we can come up with some recurring cards, that's good. Urn of Godfire, I don't want to play that either. Traumatic Revelation, I think I actually will play. I quite like Traumatic Revelation. And well, we get another Dreg Recycler here late. So, looking like black is open. If we can pick up some, you know, Ica Drinkers, they make these Dreg Recyclers better. And they also make Ica Shade better. I don't want to play Ica Shade, but like certainly the black stuff came late there, so that's good for us. Now we open Invasion of Ravnica, which is a card I have not played with before, but this card's really good. I mean, it's just a 5-mana battle that exiles basically anything. There's not that many things that are just 2 colors. You're going to be able to kill something most of the time, and your opponent really doesn't want to let this flip. Like, we don't have any double-colored cards, but it's still just a 5/5. I mean, it's just such a good card. So, definitely want to take the Invasion here. Although, like, it might actually be closer to Nezumi Informant than it looks. The battles have sort of started underperforming a fair bit, but I think here it's still, like, high enough upside and powerful enough that we want to take it, and we just hope we wheel something like a Attentive Sky Warden or a Corrupted Conviction or something similar. There's certainly a lot of different ways this deck can go. I mean, you can play, like, the bigger creature version of it, or you can sort of play a smaller creature version that takes advantage of, you know, your Dreg Recyclers, your Corrupted Convictions as well. So now, another interesting pick here. Certainly looks like we're not playing blue at this point. And I think, like, Infected Defector, I'd play one if I get one, just because it's 2 bodies in 1 card. Don't hate Tarkir Dune Shaper, but the 3 toughness on the backside makes it die to a lot of 2 and 3 drops. Like, it dies to Swordsworn Cavalier. And so that just means that you're effectively paying 5 mana and using your turn 4 to flip this, and then it just trades with like 2 and 3 drops, which is not good. So a card I do like is Invasion of Eldraine. Come down a little bit on this one, but still it makes them discard 2, and then on the backside you can threaten to flip it, which is quite strong. Now we have an interesting pick here. We haven't seen a ton of white. It's sort of interesting, like we could be blue-black, but I think Invasion is, I mean, Elesh Norn is just so good, we really want to lean into it. Forest Dispersal is probably the best card in the pack. Omen Hawker can be really strong. But here I think I'm just going to take the Scoured Barons. It just sets up our mana a little bit better. I don't love anything else in this pack. I don't mind Flitting Gorilla. It could be awkward because of the Phyrexian Sculpting we passed. Like, someone else could be black-white. But I haven't seen enough to put us off it that I think we want to just take the land here, and it also sets us up to potentially, splash if we need to. So now there's another Etched Familiar, Dreg Recycler. Not playing either of those cards. There's nothing really in blue. I don't love Invasion of Dominaria, and we're certainly picking up more battles than I like, but the backside of this one's very good. It gives you 4 life, and wow, Invasion of Zagovia. That is very, very late. Invasion of Zagovia. So what's our black? I mean, our black is like Final Flourish, and the rest of the card, and like Merciless Repurposing. So the other option is we take Phyrexian Censor, but I don't even really think Censor is that good, and Invasion of Zagovia pick 5 is a bit of a signal, and it's possible like we can dump all these black cards and like maybe splash the Final Flourish instead, and that Invasion is also really good with Elesh Norn. So now what we'll be doing is we'll probably be prioritizing like white cards over black cards, because that's going to build the base of our deck, and whatever lens we end up going down. So now I think Swordsworn Cavalier is the best card in the pack. It's also leaning back towards blue-white here, but I think that's fine. So let's just go ahead and pick up the Swordsworn Cavalier, and now we'll follow that one up with a Sigiled Sentinel here. Like, black's really drying up, so we're definitely base white at this point. But like, these black cards like Shade, Dreg Recycler, Traumatic Revelation, Invasion of Eldraine, and Nezumi Freewheeler just aren't that good. The best card here is Final Flourish and Repurposing, and the best cards here are Marshall and Zagovia. So, but now we have an Invasion of New Capenna, and we have a Furger Judge of Valor. So I think it's probable we're still just going to be black-white here. The question is, do we want Invasion of New Capenna, or do we want the Furger? I think Furger is just better. Being on a double spell with this thing, if you ever do it, it's just absurd. So now I think we don't have a ton of Incubate. And I think this again just leans into like both decks a little bit better. Like, we're still... Looks super awkward because like we have to cut 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards, which gives us 13, 12 playables. Like, we could play Urn of the Godfire and splash Final Flourish, but that's pretty awkward. So it's pretty likely we're playing black-white at this point. But like, maybe we splash the Marshall or the Zagovia. But so here I think we're going to take the Dune Shaper for that reason. Is we just want to lock in our playables. Our best card is still Elesh Norn, and both our blue and our black play better with the white. So we don't want to play blue-black. So we're definitely white at this point. So I think for the same reason, I'm going to take a Alabaster Host Sanctifier here. Not like looking to play that one, but don't looking to play any of those cards there. I'll certainly play an Aeronaut. But for the same reason, if we'd like open a ridiculous blue card and we want to go down that path, or blue's really open in pack 3, then that's just like could be the filler. And again, like Archivist can also be a filler card here that allows you to play the stronger second color, as opposed, and a few extra weaker cards, as opposed to, just picking up the card in your other color that you're just never really going to play. So it's just looking for little ways to keep yourself more open in the draft. I think at this point it's very likely we're just black-white, but we will see what we open in this pack. Certainly got some power level here with no matter which version we go down, with Zagovia and... I mean, Elesh Norn and Invasion are our best cards. Wow, and Ocular Swaps is a good one there. So now I think we can basically just cut the blue here. I mean, we've just opened a really strong black bomb in Archpriest of Shadows, and it certainly allows us to have a much better curve here. I don't think we're playing Shade, but yeah, like this curve just looks way, way better Probably cutting the Aeronaut at this point as well. But yeah, like we could take Artistic Refusal and play blue-white, but there's just no reason to do that. Archpriest of Shadows is a better card, and it makes our deck a lot stronger. So now, really not much for us in white-black here. We don't have a ton of ways to make Incubate tokens yet. We have the Merciless Repurposing. We have Traumatic Revelation. Not a ton. I don't like Realm Breaker in these types of decks. Like, I think if you have a huge amount of removal, it's playable. I think we just take Flitting Gorilla. Yeah, I think we want one Gorilla, given we have, like, Elesh Norn. We have Invasion of Ravnica, Archpriest of Shadows. Lots of ways to... Like, lots of creatures we want to recur. And now we're going to pick up a Collective Nightmare, which is huge, given... Like, we just need removal at this point. Like, we have Invasion, Merciless, Final Flourishing, but these decks really need ways to deal with threats, and Collective Nightmare is one of the most efficient ones of doing that. So, happy to pick that one up there. And now, like, we're looking for ways to just, like, cut this Dune Shaper. Like, we don't want to play this card. And now, nothing really for us in white. There's nothing for us, and, like, a white common's gone, which means white's probably getting cut. So the Elesh Norn may have, like, guided us into a little bit of trouble there, but, like, Elesh Norn's just so good. We could take Failed Conversion here, but I think I'm just going to take another Gorilla. Given we have, like, two invasions here, it does have upside into being able to, like, attack and pressure them and flip them. Intercessor, or Final Flourish. I was going to say Intercessor's a good pickup for us there, but Final Flourish is just so much better than Intercessor. It's good early, it's good late, it's just such one of the best black commons. It and Deadly Derision are just so good. And certainly in this type of, like, controlling black-white deck, we want to have some of that. Wow, so some really strong green cards in Inga, Invasion. I mean, I don't like Invasion, sorry. Inga and Emoti, Blighted Burgeoning, but they're not for us. And go ahead and pick up a third copy of the Gorilla here. I don't want to play 3, but if I don't pick anything else up, I think it's fine. I think here, pick up a Failed Conversion. Happy to play, like, one of those over, like, a... I don't know if these... The Cavaliers are probably still in, just because it's a 2-drop, it helps that curve. And the 3 power is good for trading, so I'm happy to play them here. I don't want a third Dreg Recycler. I don't really love Tenet Oilcaster, but I think that's what we're going to take here. It's a Phyrexian. It's probably better than Ichashade in this deck. Go ahead and pick up an Attentive Skywater, but again, I don't really want to play that one, so... Because, wow. I mean, Dispersal should not be going pick 10. I'm just going to take Dispersal, but... yeah, I think we want to... We're going to need to cut... Well, Ica Drinker, wow, that's a really nice one to pick up there on the wheel. And Failed Conversion, not playing 2 of those. I think we probably cut the Oilcaster here. We've got enough top end. Eudora Grove Gardener should probably also not be going that late. Nor should the Burgeoning, but... Yeah, this is an interesting one. I think we're going to have to cut one card. I think it's probably going to be the Failed Conversion. Given we have enough removal and it's just a bit clunky. We just need enough creatures, I think. Or maybe it might be the second Flitting Gorilla here. Although Gorilla's really good with Elesh Norn. I think it's just the conversion. We have enough removal, especially with Elesh Norn. I think it's just like a clunkier card, and I want to have some more early drops to play into Elesh Norn. So this is the draft. Let me know what you thought of the draft in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you for game number 1. Alrighty, welcome to game number 1 here. Bit of an interesting hand. We're on the draw. I think this hand's a keep. As long as we hit one land drop, we shouldn't fall too far behind. If we just hit land, one of them being a swamp, we should be fine. Could definitely fall behind here, and this is definitely a hand that could lose, but the upside is quite high. Wow, and so Trailblazing Historian is not a great one there, but Go ahead and run out our Swordsword Cavalier. We really, as I said, just need to hit one land. And with 3 draw steps, we're like statistically likely to do that to the point where we should keep the hand. So that's why we kept their hand there. But certainly there are times where this hand will get unlucky and we won't hit that land drop. And it's going to be tough for us to win the game. But when opponent's playing Trailblazing Historian, I'm not too worried. So I'm not going to go ahead and block there. See what opponent plays. And yeah, at this point, like, my rank is not... Normally, I'd probably be up in Mythic towards the end of the month, but I was actually away in Japan for 2 weeks. So it sort of put a stunt on that. They definitely should have played the Captain Lannery Storm, and probably attacked with it. But now we're just going to have to ship the turn. Really awkward, not hitting the land drop there, but we're not out of this game yet. And like, if we can go Sigiled Sentinel into Invasion of Eldraine, into like Archpriest of Shadows, we can definitely like still win this game as long as we just run around the lands. And so again, like, I'm not going to trade here. Like, I'm fine taking the 1 damage. I'm saving my Cavalier to trade for something like Captain Lannery Storm or something bigger that is problematic and threatening for me to deal with. And Azumi Informant is not really a problem here. I'm going to go ahead and ship the Flitting Gorilla here. We have enough 3-drops that I don't mind losing the Gorilla there. And yeah, now we get to like play our 3/3, which blocks really well on this board and hold up. And if we draw another land, we're going to get to Invasion of Eldraine in their hand and potentially set ourselves up to the point where we're pretty favoured to win this game. So it'd be interesting to see how this one plays out. But if we can get like Invasion into Verger, into Archpriest, and like if they're stoking the flames there, I'm so fine with that. Like, we'll trade Swordsman Cavalier for Captain Lannery Storm. And I'm just not trading the 3/1 for either of these creatures. So opponent's got us on a very slow clock. We just go ahead and run out Censor now and ship the turn. Maybe should be attacking there, but I don't want to like let them Volcanic Spite this and get the free hit in. Like, I still just want them to be chipping away for 2 a turn. Really need to hit the land to cast Invasion of Eldraine here and take out the cards in their hand. Harried Artisan gets a bit wrecked by Phyrexian Censor. And now opponent doesn't have any good attacks. We can just go ahead and run out the Censor again. The Harried Artisan is a problem because they can flip it this turn. So we do need to draw like lands in order to get to Verger to block it. They can go ahead and flip this turn. It will get to attack. And yeah, the only reason I mentioned my rank in this video is like this player's obviously in gold at the end of the month, so they might be a little bit newer, and potentially that's why they're playing cards like Trailblazing Historian, and yeah, certainly no criticism of the opponent, but just normally my draft videos I think are up in just a bit of a higher rank. So Invasion of Ravnica is a good one again. But we don't have any really good attacks. Like, we could attack with Censor, but if we attack with Censor, then they can attack with their 1/1s, their 1 power creatures, and we sort of have to block given the clock in the air. Again, we just need to draw 2 lands in a row. We can go Invasion of Eldraine, Invasion of Ravnica killing. We can't kill this thing actually with it because it's exactly 2 colors. So opponent is really getting us here with their black-red deck. So this could be a tough one. If we draw 2 lands, we still get to Verger. If they don't have removal for that, then we can block their 3/4. And also if we just get up to repurposing, it's fine as well. So we've drawn 7 cards and we've drawn 1 land, which is pretty unlucky. But that's the thing with Magic, is like, you're going to get games like this where you do get really unlucky and there's just nothing you can do about it. And so, you know, you're also going to have games where your opponent gets really unlucky and you just get a free win, effectively. I think there's like a great quote from one of the better Magic players, I can't remember who, but they basically said something along the lines of, in Magic, there's like, you know, 20% of games that you're just always going to win, and 20% of games that you're always going to lose. And it's about how you play in the 60% of the games that really dictates how good you are as a player. And it might be that the percentages are higher or lower for the other games in terms of the ones you'll always win, but certainly an interesting concept. So now I think we're just dead because opponent has a 6/5 flyer that we really... And they convoked it, so... Managed to get away with one here. They accidentally convoked this instead of the Trailblazing Historian. So now I think we can just ship the turn. We're going to get to Final Flourish this in their attack step so that they don't put it on one of put their Greatsword on one of their other creatures, and that's also would be a problem for us. So we're going to sack a Cavalier to take down the Skyflyer here with Final Flourish. Traumatic Revelation. They can't take the Final Flourish. So they're going to get a look at our hand. They're going to see a whole bunch of stuff. They're going to know about the Skyflyer here as well, but... Don't know what they should take here. It's certainly interesting. Like, they could take Freewheeler because it's a 4-drop. Yeah, I think that's a very reasonable line from the opponent. But I think maybe Invasion of Eldraine is potentially more problematic there. So now they're just going to get in with the Skyflyer. Can't cast any more spells because of our sensor, so just go ahead and pick this one off, sacking one of our little Cavaliers. 2 for 1ing ourselves here, but card advantage is not the problem with this in this game. Is that the problem for us is really just getting our spells on the board. So they're gonna go ahead and equip this, probably on the Lannery Storm, or they could equip it on like one of the smaller creatures. It on Historian's actually really good. I think I'd put it on the Historian if I was the opponent because it makes it a 4/4 trample. Which is hard for us to block, whereas this, like, we can pretty happily block. Wow, and so Dreg Recycler. Just crying out for a land. I'd give my Kingdom, my horse for a land here. We don't have any really good attacks. There's like an argument there, actually, to attacking with the Swordsworn Cavalier just because of the happy to trade the bodies. So here I think we just trade Dreg Recycler for the Informant. We could trade the Cavalier for it because... yeah, maybe we trade Cavalier. Because if we trade Cavalier for it, we actually can double block the Historian, and Sensor can still trade with Lannery Storm. And then, like, we're going to need something to trade. I think we actually trade with Swordsword and Cavalier here because it sets up the double... It makes us be able to deal with the Trailblazing Historian a lot better than if we block with the Dreg Recycler. So, a little bit counterintuitive, obviously, because this has more power, but it's the toughness here that actually matters in terms of double blocking these creatures. Really need a hit land like this turn. Flywheel Racer is not it, I don't think. Man, if we had a hit land at like any point in this game, we've just been curving out. Yeah, so now they've seen the equip here, but we have the blocks for it at this point, so. So Collective Nightmare is probably like one of the better draws other than land in our deck. But it is tough. Like, we just need to hit land. Because we can like block the Censor and Nightmare the Historian. And if they attack with like all of that, you know, the Racer and this, we can block with the Dreg Recycler, block Censor here. Shrink this. There's a few different lines here depending on what they do. Failed Conversion. Failed Conversion's a good one. So go ahead and let that resolve. they're going to get to hit us for 3 here if they hit us with the Flower Racer. Which I think is what they'll do, because they're not going to want to trade their Lannery Storm for this, and they're going to think like, well, alright, I'll attack with the Historian and the Racer, we'll trade here and take 4, but what we're actually going to do is block with the Dreg Recycler and kill the Historian. So they should get in here. I mean, yeah. So now we get to block and just Collective Nightmare this. So like, yeah, they should have attacked with the Flower Racer here. And now if we draw land, we get to go Invasion of Eldraine, their hand out. There's a land. Okay. So now it's the only card we can cast. And now we can Invasion of Ravnica something next turn. And like, or Archpriest of Shadows to get back a like Freewheeler or a Sigil Sentinel. I wonder as well, I think we're meant to attack the invasion here. Because we're not blocking anything this turn. And so, yeah, okay. I think we actually do attack so that we can flip this next turn. They're probably going to trade Flywheel Racer for it. I'm fine with that. They should, because they know we have the Archpriest. Which will make blocking awkward next turn. If we get to Archpriest next turn and flip this and get a creature back, it's pretty insane for us. Is it from... It's from our graveyard. So they should equip it to the Lannery Storm, I think, because they had the treasure. Pumps everything for the treasure. Unseal the Necropolis. So Ica Drinker for us. It's like helpful in case we don't draw a land, but so bad for us that they're gonna get, like, they can get a Trailblazer Historian now. They can get something to, yeah, they're gonna get something to suit up the Flywheel Racer here, which is, that's tough for us. But like, they can't play that and equip. Harried Artisan's really good. But we might now, like, if they play Harried Artisan and attack, we get to flip the invasion if we draw a land. I mean, this is all predicated on us drawing a land. We have no business being in this game at this point. But now they're going to play the 4-3. Yeah, so they sack that. Dreg Recycler is just so bad on this board. Yeah. I mean, I think we're just stuffed here, but let's go ahead and cast Dreg Recycler and just activate the Ica Drinker. If we could have an Archpriest that turn, like, we force the trade, we have the 4/4 Death Touch to block something, and like, maybe we can win the game from there, but like, they get the flyer. Just depends how they play, but there's like a chance we win. Whereas now, I think it's like very unlikely. Like, we're super. We can't. I don't think we can win this game. Like, the opponent should just, like, this has menace. They should just suit this thing up. Play their haster and swing out against us. Yeah, I mean, this is just one of those games I think that we basically should lose every single time. And so it's absolutely fine to lose this one and move on to the next one. So now Harried Artisan comes down. I think they should just put the sword on the menace. Because if they do, it's like a 7... Yeah, it's a 7/4, so they're going to deal 3 with that. We have to, like, double block it, because it'll kill us, and then... Okay. So I'm going to transform that instead. I mean, we're just dead, really. No matter what here. I don't know what that line is. Like, maybe they're going to put the sword on the Skyflyer, but... Yeah, they had a way to kill us that turn. They didn't take it. Like, I wonder if they give us another turn if we're going to win this game. I don't think we can, but we have a flyer. It's like... It's not impossible here. 6-5. They're going to put us to 1. They should attack with both creatures here. No, they don't. Okay, so we got a 1. This thing has trample. I mean, we're so dead. We're just... Hello. Alright. Yeah, this thing has trample. I don't think there's anything we can really do. We play Archpriest. We get the Gorilla if they block. I think like maybe the only way is I don't know. I don't think there's a way to win, but I think we need the extra blocker, so I'm only going to attack with the 3/3 and like hope they don't block. But there's just so little chance they do that. They should just snap block here. Yeah, that's the game. Alright, good game, opponent, and I'll see you guys for game number 2. Alrighty, back for game number 2 here. With a hand we're definitely going to keep. We've got the third land. 3 removal spells in this hand, so this hand's sweet. Invasion of Ravnica is good. With Nazumi Freewheeler with the Menace, so, and with Elspeth Smite and Final Flourish, hopefully we can stave off any really fast starts and control this one. So, happy to see the land there. Last game was a bit frustrating, just not drawing land for so long, like, just one of those, but as I said, it's just one of those games, and that was a real example of it there. So now, interesting decision point here. I think we just Final Flourish this. We just want to slow them down. We have the Invasion of Ravnica. We're don't really have anything we want to that we want to sacrifice with the Final Flourish, and just slowing down their board development there is, I think, important enough that if they had a Blighted Burgeoning or something, they can like really pop off. And just taking down the, it's the classic saying, you bolt the birds of paradise. So opponent's going to get a 3/3 Vigilance here, and we're going to get to play Nazumi Freewheeler. And then hopefully have something good to Invasion of Ravnica. And then potentially flip the battle. Depending on what they play, we could flip here. So Invasion of Belenon from opponent. We get the 2/2. Really don't want that one to flip here. But now it's our turn. Invasion of Eldraine is interesting here. I think we actually just play Invasion of Eldraine. And then we're going to attack with the Freewheeler, and like if they double block here, we can just Elspeth Smite the 3/3 and eat the 2/2, which is like very, very good for us. So I'm going to go ahead here and just get in. Like, even if they have cut short here, it's totally fine. But now we just absolutely like blow them out here. And Invasion of Ravnica next turn to, as long as they play like a single coloured creature, we just get to eat it and flip this. So Glistening Dawn is fine. So we can flip our Nazumi Freewheeler here as well is another option. These are both 5/5s. What does Freewheeler get us? It gets us not a ton. I think we can just exile the 5/5 here and then flip it ourselves, which seems good. Let's go ahead and exile this and then flip our battle Effectively, we're just trading the invasion of... Oh, Elspeth Smite there is brutal. Oh. Yeah, so that's tough, because now they're going to get the invasion down. As long as they flip. The Arrow and Smite there was really sweet. Because now they get to flip this. I mean, the good thing about this battle is, like, in this situation, it matters more that this is not a creature. Like, they would much rather have a creature here to block, because now we can flip Arrow and invasion. They have to be pretty worried about that. I mean, it's sort of unlikely in these decks that, unless you're playing a multicolored deck, that you're going to have the ability to trigger this and successfully hit something. So, I think there they made the right call to attack. Yeah, certainly our hand looked sweet, but yeah, not playing out as we would have wanted it to. But now I get to flip this, play Ica Drinker, and just say go. Opponent, like, kind of can't attack here unless they have another creature to follow up with. Just because the threat of us getting that flyer is pretty high. Like, we could have attacked at that turn, but we needed to get the Paragon down. Now we're just, like, really hoping to draw Elesh Norn. Elesh Norn would just be, like, the best possible card. Okay. Or that one's good. So, let's go ahead and just repurposing here. Pretty lucky draws there, but they are the breaks. Getting on opponent. We get to flip into our little birdie here. So little prickle fairies. Just going to ping them for 2 as well. And we've got opponent on a clock here. Like, we are hitting them for 7, 8, 11, 13. Let's go ahead and flip this. Smash our opponent here. Like, the only card that they really could have is Sunfall. If they have Sunfall, like, they probably would have played it last turn, I think. So, yeah, we can pretty safely assume they don't have it. Managed to pull out the win there, and I'll see you for game number 3. Alrighty, game number 3 here. Similar situation to game 1, in that we just really need to hit our 3rd land. But given we have double Cavalier, I'm pretty happy to risk it here. Invasion of Dominaria is certainly good. There's the 2nd land drop. So now we get to go Cavalier. Probably into Cavalier. There's an argument for playing Dominaria and attacking in. Just depends on what they play. So now they got the Thallid. I think we actually do just want to play Invasion here, because we want to pressure them into trading the Thallid before they flip it. Because the flip tokens just absolutely wreck our Cavalier. So it's much better for us there to throw down the Cavalier. Our opponent's stuck on land here, so... Interesting decisions here. I think we just play out Flitting Gorilla. We could play Censor, but Censor's awkward with our battles. Like, we want to be playing multiple spells a turn. So Censor's probably going to be one of the last cards we do play. And Flitting Gorilla is going to get to try and flip into our good friend Sarah Faithkeeper. So, like, next turn we can probably play Invasion of Eldraine and hold up Elspeth Smite, but opponent gets to hit us there. Now we get to mill, so we think we will exile here, and what we're going to do is go ahead and put Swordsworn Cavalier on top, because now we get to go Cavalier into Cavalier, and put pressure on the opponent. If we hit a land next turn, we can go Invasion of Eldraine, smite whatever the blocker, and hit the Dominaria down to 2, and hopefully leave them in a tough spot. They get to vanquish 1. Again, I think we're just going to run the same line. Anyway, we want to flip this. Invasion of Eldraine to try and get back a little bit of card advantage here. There's also an argument to censoring so that creatures come into play tapped, but we're still not pumping out our cards then and, like, not taking advantage of our mana, and I still think it's better. Wow, what is opponent's deck? This is a brew. Opponent has a real brew here. So now let's go ahead and just try and flip here. Yeah, okay. So that's sweet. We get the Faithkeeper here. I think now we actually do play the Censor. The reason being that if we flip this with the Faith Keeper, we can happily pass the turn. Like, we're not guaranteed to have a play next turn. And this just means that their attacks are, like, if they play a creature this turn, they don't really have any great blocks. So let's go ahead and try and flip. And we'll try and bash in. Yeah, so now, I mean, opponent is getting punished here for, like, their deck's a little bit janky in terms of it having a lot of colors. And, like, they're getting punished on their mana here. So, yeah, that's a pretty easy win for us. 2-1, and I'll see you for game number 4. Alrighty, back for game number 4 here. Hand's definitely a keep. Can start off with Dreg Recycler into Traumatic Revelation, and then I've got Collective Nightmare and Invasion of Ravnica, which is going to be a sweet start. I think here it may actually be worth just Traumatic Revelationing them now. As opposed, like, the Dreg Cycler is not going to block anything, and we just don't want it to have like a 3-drop that's extremely problematic for us. So now we can take down the Sailback or take down the Sentinel. I think here we just want to take the Sentinel down. Instead, it's going to slow them right down, and they effectively will just be able to flip this, and they'll be able to flip this, and they'll play Angelic Intervention at some point. But we can slow them down enough, I think, that's going to work out well for us. So now, I think we just Collective Nightmare the 3/3. The reason for doing that is next time we can play Swordsworn Cavalier and Dreg Recycler, or Final Flourish and one of the creatures if we need to, and they're going to have Angelic Intervention up next turn. So it really just slows them down. They still got the 1/1, but this does work for us. So now, look, I think we just slam the Elesh Norn here. We didn't see anything in opponent's hand that they have to deal with it, so we don't have to worry about it. It's a Vigilance 3/5, which is just amazing on this board. And it will block the Sailback quite nicely. And set us up to potentially Invasion of Ravnica and start putting pressure on the battle ourselves. So opponent's probably going to Sailback here, and they won't be able to attack into it. And we've just got to probably try and set up. You know, if we draw another creature, we might just run out both of our creatures here. But now opponent... could be cut short. I think what we do here is we play out the Cavalier pre-combat, and then we can attack, and that way we have like Final Flourish with the sacrifice possibility up. Can't be cut short because of Elesh Norn's Vigilance, so don't know what opponent line they're going for there, but I'm happy to run out the Recycler and say go. So that was a strange turn from opponent. I think they might have had cut short and not realised that Elesh Norn has Vigilance. Alternatively, like, they have Sunfall in hand here. So if that's the case, we can't play, like, I don't want... Yeah, I think we just want to attack like this. Not sure what they have, but it kind of feels like Sunfall to me here. Given that they're not playing that for like 5-drop, we know they have it. This really does feel like Sunfall, I think. So, no reason to keep running out our creatures. Yeah, I just don't know what this is here. If we draw a land as well next turn, we can just... We don't want to attack with the Cavalier. And now if we draw a land next turn, we can Freewheeler and flip Elesh Norn if they tap out, for example. But yeah, I think this is Sunfall. I think we're going to see opponent Angelic Intervention here. Super interesting, because that makes me feel like it's not Sunfall. The question is, I think we just want to Final Flourish this actually in response, because the reason for doing that is it keeps us right open to... the question is now, like, I don't think they make that play if they have Sunfall in hand. Like, they just take the 2 damage. So I think we just run out Freewheeler. And now we can flip Elesh Norn next turn. It punishes us if they have Sunfall, but I don't think they make the intervention play if they have Sunfall. And so, yeah. Okay, so Ancient Imperiosaur comes down. I mean, we could flip out Elesh Norn, but it says Ward 2, actually, so we can't kill them with it. So we can just flip Elesh Norn, is one possibility. And that gives us 5 2/2s, and then they all get double strike. Our other option is to just Invasion of Eldraine them first. I think we just go the Elesh Norn play here. It's just pretty sweet. I definitely want to do this at some point in the set, and we get 10 power and toughness, and then next turn they'll all get double strike. And then we wrath them if they manage to last the next turn as well. So I think that's the line. The opponent is pretty dead at this point. They destroy Elesh Norn. Well, that's actually really bad for us there. So now... that's the reason why we don't Elesh Norn there. But we're just going to go ahead and exile this using the ward. And then I think we just swing. Like, they'll eat one of our tokens, but we put them to 2. They need a ton of blockers. Yeah, so definitely shouldn't have flipped the Elesh Norn that turn, given that they could destroy the Saga. I think I just forgot that in that moment the Sagas are all enchantments. But certainly not the play there. But still managed to get the win. Pretty sweet to flip Elesh Norn, even if it wasn't the right play. And I'll see you for game number 5. Alrighty, back again. For game number 5, this hand's definitely a keep. We're on the draw. It's a little bit on the slow side. Dreg Recycler is a fantastic one for that reason. But even without the Dreg Recycler, like, the Nightmare's fantastic for clearing an early creature they play. And Elesh Norn will... into Ravnica is great, but opponent here will just slam take Elesh Norn, which is unfortunate. And that's, like, I think one of the reasons why this card has probably overperformed in this format so far is that there are just so many bombs in the set that this hits, and even when it doesn't hit one, you still get to incubate 3. It's just a fantastic card. So now, a little bit awkward here in terms of what we discard. I think this is probably going to be a little bit more of a game of attrition than a game where the straight 1-for-1 removal matters more. So I'm not as inclined to discard repurposing. I think the question is, do we discard a land or the Nightmare? I think we discard a land here. These are some of the best spells in our deck. And if we hit other lands, then we'll be fine. So... got rewarded with drawing a land there, and we get to keep our spells. But yeah, I think that's close. Like, I think you can discard Nightmare and rely on the fact that you're going to have the invasion and the repurposing, but you do run the risk of flooding out a little bit there. But now I've got our 3 removal spells, and our game plan is pretty much just let's ride this collective night, this Dreg Recycler to victory. But now opponent can't kill the Oil Caster, so it's just gonna Swordsworn Cavalier and say go. We can double block and Collective Nightmare if we want to, which I think is a fine line, especially when they're like pre-combat playing Thallid. They probably should flip this so that we can't exile it with Invasion of Ravnica this turn, but that means that they can't attack with Tented Oilcaster, so we can go ahead and we will kill that in response. So opponent probably shouldn't have done that. They basically, I mean, they force our hand into using our Collective Nightmare, but it's just a huge tempo swing. They have to pay some life to do that as well. And now they're getting in with Tented Oilcaster. Probably helps us the fact that, I mean, actually that would have been quite a good one, I think, in that instance. Dreg Recycler, not the greatest draw. But, like, eventually, you know, we're not under so much pressure. Eventually we should hit a land to be able to cast Invasion of Ravnica. And we'll actually be pretty, you know, able to flip that, I think. Gargantua is a fantastic one for the opponent. It's a big problem for us. Gives them the card advantage that they need in this matchup. So, now that they've drawn, we can go ahead and just Traumatic Revelation them. So we know about this Greatsword now, and Volcanic Spite, which is good to know. And we still get to incubate the token out. So, go ahead and ship the turn. It's really important to know about this Volcanic Spite, just because of the fact that, you know, we can't double block. Or we have to block in a way that doesn't allow them. So here, this is a pretty big problem for us. We're going to need to draw out, pretty much run around a land, I think, in order to survive this. But now we can actually, I think we just triple block here. We're effectively trading 2 for 1, but we're not going to get a better opportunity, I think, on this board. The other option was to just trade the Swordsworn Cavalier. But now, like, we can still potentially threaten to double block this way. Yeah, so now we slam Invasion of Ravnica down. Get to take out the Mauler. The Dreg Recycler, the Tenet Oilcast is still a problem, but we've got the repurposing for it. I wouldn't have hated getting to Invasion of Ravnica with the Greatsword, but I think the plan will be, like, they've only got 2 more creatures, and the Informant isn't fantastic with the sword on it, so I'm happy for them to, like, start getting in, and the repurposing will, and just hopefully, we can hope that we will take down enough of their creatures with our removal where the sword isn't fantastic anymore. The Spite is still problematic, but, like, here they have to tap out in order to do this. The other thing as well is we're threatening the battle flip here now. So, yeah, so Elspeth Smite doesn't do a ton for us here. I think we just say go. It's certainly a decent card to draw because it is another removal spell, like if they suit up the Rat. So very, very glad they hit us there. We can't block because of Volcanic Spite. I mean, we could theoretically, like, double block there. They could Spite, Elspeth Smite, but I just don't think that that's the play. So now we can go ahead. I think what we'll do is we'll force their hand here. They pretty much have to Volcanic Spite this. They're probably going to, yeah, block and then Volcanic Spite. No, they're not going to. Okay, that's fantastic for us because I think we do this on that upkeep in case they've got something, but I don't really think there's anything they can have here, but okay, so they're gonna Mirrodin's avenged it. We'll take out that creature. We've got a little bit, like, we've still got the Ikadrinka token. We're going to be able to put a lot of power and toughness on the board next turn. As long as they don't draw a huge creature to suit up the Greatsword, we're probably going to be able to flip the Invasion. And in this case, like, I think it's worth flipping Invasion because if we do, like, 6 points of damage, we'll get a 5/5 out of it. And that means we're going to threaten the 5/5 to attack them next turn. So opponent is on the black-red removal. Their deck's pretty sweet, but when you play a lot of removal spells and you don't have a ton of creatures, oh, as I say, that Phyrexian Gargantua comes down to lay the pain on us. I was going to say, yeah, if you don't have a ton of creatures, these cards become way worse, but when you've got card advantage engines like Phyrexian Gargantua, it definitely is, yeah, when you've got card advantage engines like this, it probably becomes a little bit more palatable. So, go ahead and Ikadrinka here. And just ship the turn now. hold up Elsa Smite. We're not going to be able to do that. I wonder if they should have spited. It's awkward for them because Volcanic Spite allows us to get Elesh Norn back. So they do need to be careful with that. But now opponent is getting to suit up the Gargantua here. We can't really block it this turn. Just because they could Volcanic Spite us. So we don't have any blocks this turn. We will get to flip our Incubate token. Yeah, it's going to be tough for us to win this one. The Gargantua was a sweet rip from the opponent because it just gives them the gas they need to close the game out. It's a huge body. I think we probably needed to draw something other than the Smite there. Yeah, I think we're just dead on board if they attack and kill the 3/3. I wonder, like, they're just gonna, they should just Volcanic Spite this and lock up the win. Yeah, that's good game to opponent. They played pretty well there to get that one, but that puts us at 4-2, and I'll see you for game number 7. Alrighty, and I was mistaken before. We are back for game number 6. Currently 3-2, and this hand is a keeper. Not the greatest hand of all time by any means, but we're going to have a play on turn 2, 3, and 4. Hopefully we can draw some of our powerful cards to sort of top that curve off. Opponent's taking a mulligan as well, which certainly helps, but they're on the draw, so it's a little bit less impactful. But if they do stumble, Swordsworn Cavalier will probably do some work in this matchup. This card's definitely not as good in black-white as it is in blue-white. I don't think it's ideal that we're playing it here, but it's just a good curve filler. And if opponent doesn't have a 2-drop here, then the 3 power is very problematic for them. This opponent's green-red. Probably going to have something here. Invasion of Eldraine was a great draw. Getting to have them discard cards when they've already taken a mulligan is great. As is Archpriest of Shadows here. Now we can very happily trade. I mean, we would have already happily traded for the Instructor, but opponent is just letting us get in here. I think their obvious plan is to keep the Instructor in order to allow themselves to flip it and potentially take down the Cavalier. Or no, this makes sense. They're just going to put the counter here, so it's a 2/4, so it permanently blocks the 3/1. I like that line from the opponent there. So now what we can go ahead and do is just invasion them. They're going to have to discard. They're stuck on lands as well, so we're going to get 2 spells here. And then we're just going to be able to start bashing down the invasion with Flitting Gorilla. Additionally, they're not going to realise, but if they attack with, say, the 2/2, we'll trade with the Swordsworn Archpriest of Shadows to get back our Swordsworn Cavalier. And that's a pretty good solid line if they don't have anything to stop it. So Overgrown Pest and Furnace Host Charger into the bin, meaning the opponent must have some pretty powerful cards in their hand to not want to discard because they're clearly stuck on land, and yeah, they're clearly stuck on lands here. So it seems to me you'd want to keep Overgrown Pest unless you had like the most powerful cards in your deck. So now we can Archpriest of Shadows here. Yeah, and I think this makes sense. We just want to Archpriest on and make a 3/3 flyer. We'll attack the invasion here and attack opponent here. They're probably going to trade, but if they do, we're going to get the creature back, so they should have waited that turn. So you just get it straight back. Now we get to exile and cast Prickle Fairies. And we're in a pretty good spot here. I mean, we can, if they kill the Archpriest, we get Flitting Gorilla back. If they don't, we're just going to start recurring them, any creatures they deal with. So, pretty easy win off the opponent's mulligan there. And I'll see you for the real game number 7. Alrighty, game number 7 here. 4-2, going for a 5-2 record. Good hand here with Revelation, Flourish. Invasion of Dominaria is fine, but this hand sort of... Oh, Invasion of Ravnica is a great draw here. This hand's a lot more controlling than our last hand, which shows that black-white tends to be quite mid-rangey. So opponent has Skittering Surveyor, Swordstalker Moloch, Wary Thespian, and Alabaster Host Intercessor. So I think we're probably going to want to take out the Moloch. We just don't want them drawing another card off this. And it's going to take them a long time to get to the Alabaster Host Intercessor, and we can save Invasion of Ravnica or Final Flourish to deal with it. Whereas I think the Moloch makes our hands a lot more awkward, and the other cards I'm pretty comfortable dealing with. We just don't want to have to worry about not casting our black spells because they're going to be playing this Sandstalker. So they're going to run out the Thespian, play Surveyor, get some lands, and they're going to be able to hit their Alabaster Host Intercessor, but we have the cards in hand to deal with that. So now I think we just run out Flitting Gorilla here. The reason for doing this is that next time we can play Invasion of Dominaria and hit it, and then we can Archpriest of Shadows and potentially flip it, you know, unless they've drawn something that can block a flyer, and we don't want to give them the free Surveil as well. Additionally, we're going to gain 4 life off this, and that'll help us, you know, relieve any pressure that this is causing. Although now the Elvish Vatkeeper is certainly a little bit more problematic, but I think still we just want to run this one out. Ideally, it's a slight mistake there, but we should have played the land after we played the Invasion. Forgot there that we had the 1 tap land in hand, so obviously we didn't need to play it in that order. The reason for not trading here and trying to pressure this down is we have... If we get the Archpriest down and flip the battle, then we're going to have 2 4 power and toughness creatures to block all of these, all of the opponent's creatures. So, not too concerned. Bloated Process is a really good one from the opponent, but Final Flourish is a fantastic way of dealing with that. So, now I think it's a little bit more awkward. So if we... So we're absolutely punished here for playing our land incorrectly. So I think here we just need to slow down a little bit. We can Invasion of Eldraine them here. And then take out, you know, probably the Surveyor and their other card, or the... which sort of will lock them off the Alabaster Host Intercessor. Or we can Final Flourish the Bloated Processor and trade for the Thespian. And they'll only get a 1/1. Another option is to Invasion of Ravnica that. I think we're going to want to just Invasion of Eldraine them and trade for the Thespian. It just really strips their cards out of their hand. They're going to ditch Surveyor and the Host Intercessor and the other card, I think. And then, oh no, so they've kept Surveyor. So that is very interesting. I don't think that's correct. I think you want to... I mean, you either want to keep the land to be able to flip this instantly, or keep the... Host Intercessor to exile something. I think that keeping the Surveyor is the worst option there. Because now they've just... Unless, of course, they've got like a Boombringer Valkyrie or a Sunfall on their deck. This opponent's really getting in here. So we'll just go ahead and trade for the Wary Thespian. We take 8, but we get to play our Archpriest of Shadows next turn. So we definitely want to draw Elesh Norn. Let's put Elesh Norn back on top. We're going to go ahead and run out the Archpriest because it's more mana efficient. And if you draw a land next turn, we can play Elesh Norn and Final Flourish, which will be huge. Because we'll need to deal with the Blooded Processor. Because what's likely going to happen here is... Opponent's got one card in hand. Mill 10 and take down and Imperial Source. That's really good for us. But we're going to play the Archpriest. And then if they swing out, we can block the Vat Keeper. Take 6. Then we'll play Elesh Norn. We'll be at 2. We'll have 2 blockers. And then if they draw another creature, we'll be able to Final Flourish if we draw a land. So really put ourselves in a tough spot with that land misplay. I think it's a good reminder that you really should play. If you don't need to play your lands or creatures or spells, you should play them after combat, after all of your effects. So opponent had a clear decision there in terms of keeping the land, putting the land in the bin. We're going to go ahead and just play our sad Archpriest of Shadows and pass. Opponent can sacrifice the Phyrexians here as well, but that doesn't get them over the line because if we say we block the Phyrexian Elf here, they can sack a token and they can sack the Phyrexian Elf, but still only puts them at 7 power and toughness. Unless they have another Phyrexian here, in which case we have to force block the Bloated Processor. Opponent has removal here. Yeah, they just win the game. Okay, so unfortunate end to that one there. Definitely would have probably won that game if we had just played our land post-combat. So that's a big mistake, but 4 and 3 with a decent black-white mid-range deck. I think the deck was good. It wasn't the best deck I've had in the format, but we sort of, when you open a card like Elesh Norn in that draft, we were very heavily leaned to white, and white wasn't particularly open. We certainly found the right lane, and I think black was quite open and free. We also had to flitter between the blue and the black in that draft as well, but like, I think our lane was definitely a blue-black lane to draft in. But because Elesh Norn is so powerful, and I wanted to play with it as well, you sort of lean towards that, whereas it's sort of one of those drafts I think we have far less agency just simply due to the fact that Elesh Norn is so powerful and nothing else really got past to us. But still, a sweet draft. Happy enough to go 4 and 3. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out. And leave a comment below if you would have done anything differently. Always happy to hear your thoughts and reply in the comments as well. And as always, thanks for watching.